Racist cop slapped a black waitress for fun until the Korean mafia boss forces him to beg at her feet. The sound of flesh hitting flesh cracked through the diner like a gunshot, and for a moment, everything stopped. Customers froze mid-bite. The jukebox seemed to lower its volume. Even the cook paused with his spatula in midair. And Simone Carter, 26 years old, third-generation server at Mel's Family Diner, daughter of a preacher and a school teacher, stood with her hand pressed to her burning cheek, tasting blood where her teeth had cut into the inside of her mouth. Officer Jake Morrison loomed over her, his meaty hand still raised, badge glinting on his chest like a shield against consequence. "That's what you get for talking back to me, girl," he said, the word dripping with centuries of hatred. "Maybe next time you'll learn some respect." Simone's ears were ringing, not from the physical pain, though her face throbbed where his palm had connected, but from the humiliation. 20 pairs of eyes watched her, 20 witnesses to her degradation, and not one person moved to help. Not one person said a word, because Jake Morrison was a cop, had been for 12 years, and everyone in this part of Oakland knew better than to cross him. "I asked for my check," Simone said, voice shaking but clear. "That's all. I didn't talk back. I just asked if you were ready for your check." "You asked with an attitude." Morrison leaned closer, his breath reeking of the bourbon he'd been drinking, despite being in uniform. "You people always have an attitude. Think you're entitled to respect you haven't earned." Simone felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of him. She'd spent her whole life swallowing this kind of poison, smiling through microaggressions and outright racism, keeping her head down to survive. But something in her had reached its limit. "I earned my respect by showing up every day and doing my job," she said quietly. "What did you do to earn yours besides pin on a badge?" Morrison's face went purple with rage. He raised his hand again, and Simone braced herself for another blow. But it never came. A hand, elegant, perfectly manicured, with a titanium watch that probably cost more than Simone's car, caught Morrison's wrist mid-swing. The grip must have been crushing because the cop's expression shifted from rage to pain in an instant. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," said a voice like silk over steel. Korean accent, barely noticeable, but there. "Not unless you want to lose this hand." Simone looked up, way up, into the face of the most beautiful man she'd ever seen. He was tall, at least 6 feet, with the kind of face that belonged on magazine covers. Sharp jawline, full lips, eyes so dark they looked black in the diner's fluorescent lighting. He wore a charcoal suit that screamed money, and he held Morrison's wrist with the casual confidence of someone who knew exactly how much damage he could do. "Who the fuck are you?" Morrison tried to pull his hand free and failed. "Do you know who I am?" "Officer Jake Morrison, badge number 4782, 12 years on the force, currently under investigation for excessive force. That makes 3 times now, and somehow still employed." The man's smile didn't reach his eyes. "I know exactly who you are. The question is, do you know who I am?" Something flickered across Morrison's face. Recognition, maybe, or fear. "You're that Korean Kang Yoon-suk, but my friends call me Yoon." He released Morrison's wrist with a slight shove that sent the cop stumbling backward. "You are not my friend. You are a man who just assaulted a woman in a room full of witnesses. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to this young lady, then you're going to leave, and you're never going to come back to this establishment. Understood?" Morrison's hand dropped to his gun. The entire diner sucked in a collective breath, but Yoon didn't even flinch. He just tilted his head slightly, like Morrison was a mildly interesting insect. "Go ahead," Yoon said softly. "Draw on me, give me a reason. But know that before you clear leather, my people outside will have already called every news station in the Bay Area. And tomorrow morning, the whole world will watch video of a white cop pulling a gun on an unarmed Korean civilian for stopping him from beating a black woman." His smile sharpened. "Your choice, officer. What's it going to be?" Morrison's hand moved away from his gun like it had burned him. He looked around the diner, finally seeming to register all the phones pointed in his direction, recording everything. When he spoke, his voice shook with suppressed rage. "This isn't over." "Yes," Yoon said calmly. "It is. Apologize. Now." Morrison turned to Simone, jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. "Sorry," he bit out, making the word sound like a curse. "Not good enough." Yoon's voice dropped to something dangerous. "A proper apology. On your knees." "What? I'm not—" "You slapped her, humiliated her, made her feel less than human." Yoon stepped closer, and despite Morrison's size advantage, he seemed to shrink. "The least you can do is apologize properly. On your knees." For a long moment, Simone thought Morrison would refuse. Thought he'd pull his gun, or call for backup, or do something stupid. Instead, slowly, his face burning with shame and fury, he lowered himself to his knees in front of her. "I apologize," he said through gritted teeth, "for hitting you." "For assaulting you," Yoon corrected. "Use the right word. For assaulting you. Look at her when you say it. She's a person. Treat her like one." Morrison's eyes met Simone's, and she saw pure hatred there. But she also saw something else. Fear, and the knowledge that, for once in his life, he wasn't the one with power. "I apologize for assaulting you, Miss Carter," Simone said, finding her voice. Simone Carter. "Miss Carter." The name sounded like poison on his tongue. "It won't happen again." "No," Yoon agreed. "It won't. Because if it does, Officer Morrison, I will personally ensure that every dirty secret you've buried over the past 12 years comes to light. Every payoff, every planted evidence, every covered-up shooting, all of it." He leaned down slightly. "I have very good investigators and unlimited resources. Test me if you don't believe it." Morrison scrambled to his feet and fled, not even bothering to pay his bill. The moment the door slammed behind him, the diner erupted into chaos. Everyone talking at once, phones still recording, the cook shouting that the meal was on the house. And Simone just stood there, hands still pressed to her burning cheek, staring at the man who'd just upended her entire world. Yoon turned to her, and his expression softened completely. All the cold danger evaporated, replaced by genuine concern. "Are you all right? Do you need medical attention?" I'm fine, I think." Simone's voice came out shakier than she wanted. "Thank you. You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did. No one should be treated that way, especially not while just doing their job." He pulled out a business card, pressing it into her hand. "If he retaliates, and men like that always do, call me. Anytime, day or night, I'll handle it." Simone looked at the card. Simple, elegant black with silver lettering. Kang Yoon Seok, and a phone number. No company name, no title, just his name and a way to reach him. "Who are you?" she asked. "Really?" His smile was mysterious. "Someone who believes in justice, even when the law doesn't provide it." He glanced at her cheek, which was already starting to swell. "Please get some ice on that. And Miss Carter, hold your head high. You did nothing wrong." Then he was gone, leaving behind the faint scent of expensive cologne and a diner full of people who couldn't stop talking about what they'd just witnessed. Simone's manager, Dale, a white man in his 50s who'd watched the whole thing from behind the register without intervening, hurried over. "Simone, honey, are you okay? That was crazy. Did you know that guy?" "No." She pocketed the business card before Dale could see it. "Never met him before." "Well, you're lucky he showed up. Morrison's always been trouble." Dale said it like it was news, like everyone hadn't known for years that Morrison terrorized the black neighborhoods of Oakland. "Why don't you take the rest of the day off? I'll comp your tables." Translation: leave before this becomes a bigger problem, before Morrison comes back with friends, before Dale's comfortable little world gets disrupted further. "Yeah," Simone said tiredly. "I think I will." Simone's apartment was a studio in West Oakland, the kind of place where you could hear your neighbors' entire lives through paper-thin walls. She sat on her second-hand couch with a bag of frozen peas pressed to her face, replaying the incident over and over. The way Morrison had hit her so casually, like swatting a fly. The way no one had helped. The way she'd felt small and powerless and ashamed, even though she'd done nothing wrong. And then this stranger, this beautiful, dangerous stranger, had appeared like something out of a movie and brought a cop to his knees. Her phone buzzed. A text from her best friend Maya. "Girl, you're all over Twitter. Your justice for Simone is trending. Call me now." Simone's stomach dropped. She opened Twitter with shaking hands, and there it was. At least 15 different videos of the incident, filmed from different angles, her face swelling from Morrison's slap. Yoon catching his wrist. Morrison on his knees apologizing. The hashtag was indeed trending, with thousands of comments. This is why we say ACAB. That Korean man is a king. Who is Kang Yoon Seok? I need to know. Officer Morrison needs to be fired. Simone Carter deserves justice. Her phone rang. Maya calling on FaceTime. Simone answered and her friend's face filled the screen, eyes wide with concern. "Oh my God, your face. Simone, are you okay? I saw the videos. Everyone saw the videos. This is insane." "I'm fine. Bruised, but fine." Simone adjusted the frozen peas. "Maya, who is Kang Yoon Seok?" "You don't know?" Maya's eyebrows shot up. "Girl, he's the Korean mafia boss who runs half of Oakland. Maybe more. My cousin works at a club in Koreatown. Says Yoon owns it and like 20 other businesses. Legitimate on paper, but everyone knows he's connected." Simone's blood ran cold. "Mafia? As in organized crime?" "As in very organized crime. The Kang family has been in the Bay Area for like 30 years. They're powerful, Simone. Like, scary powerful." Maya leaned closer to her camera. "But also, they're not like the cops. They protect their community. They handle problems the law won't touch. Yoon especially. He's only been in charge for like 3 years since his father died, but he's changed things, made everything more, I don't know, honorable, if that's even possible for the mafia. He gave me his card, said to call if Morrison retaliates. Keep that card safe. You might need it." Maya's expression turned serious. "Simone, cops like Morrison don't just let this go, especially not now that it's viral. He's going to want revenge, and the police department will protect him because that's what they do. So what am I supposed to do? Hide? Let him win? No. You do what you've always done. You survive. But maybe you accept help when it's offered, even if it comes from unexpected places." They talked for another hour, Maya filling her in on the social media firestorm. News outlets were already picking up the story. Civil rights organizations were calling for Morrison's firing. The Oakland PD had released a statement saying they were looking into the matter, which everyone knew meant they'd do nothing. After Maya hung up, Simone sat in silence, staring at Yoon's business card. A mafia boss. She'd been rescued by a criminal. The irony wasn't lost on her. The cop who was supposed to protect her had assaulted her, while the criminal had defended her. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Miss Carter?" That voice, smooth and controlled. "Yoon. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I wanted to check on your well-being. How did you get my number?" "I have resources." A pause. That sounded ominous. "I apologize. The truth is, I asked your manager, told him I wanted to send flowers as an apology for the disturbance." "And did you? Send flowers?" "They should arrive tomorrow. Sunflowers, I believe. The florist assured me they represent resilience." Another pause. "But that's not why I'm calling. Miss Carter. Simone, if I may, I need to warn you. Officer Morrison has friends in the department. They're already planning retaliation." Fear spiked through Simone's chest. "How do you know that?" "Because I make it my business to know what corrupt police officers are planning, especially when they target people under my protection." "I'm not under your protection." You are now, whether you want to be or not. His voice softened. Simone, I'm not trying to frighten you. I'm trying to help. The same people who recorded Morrison hitting you also recorded your face, your name, where you work. You're not anonymous anymore, and that makes you vulnerable. So what do you suggest? I hide? Leave town? I suggest you let me provide security, just for a few days until this dies down. I have people who can watch your building, make sure you get to and from work safely. You'd barely notice them. I can't afford, no charge. Consider it my civic duty. There was a smile in his voice. Or if that's too altruistic for you to believe, consider it good publicity. The man who protected Simone Carter from corrupt cops. Very good for my image. Simone should have said no, should have maintained her independence, refused help from a criminal. But she remembered Morrison's face, the hatred in his eyes, and she heard herself saying, okay, but just for a few days, and your people stay outside. I don't want anyone in my apartment. Agreed. Thank you for trusting me, Simone. You won't regret it. I already regret it, she muttered, but he'd hung up. The next morning, Simone woke to find two things: a massive bouquet of sunflowers outside her door, with a note that said, Stay strong, YS, and a sleek black car parked across the street with two Korean men in suits sitting inside. The security, apparently. They were obvious enough to deter trouble, but subtle enough to not be intrusive. When Simone left for her shift at the diner, one of them, a serious-faced man in his 30s, approached. Miss Carter, I'm Lee Taman. Mr. Kang asked me to ensure your safety. I'll be following at a distance. If you need anything, just wave. He handed her a phone. This is a direct line to Mr. Kang. It's already programmed. Keep it with you. This is too much. I don't need... With respect, Miss Carter, you do. There have already been 3 threats posted online with your address. Mr. Kang's cyber team took them down, but more will come. Please, let us do our job. Simone took the phone, feeling like she was falling down a rabbit hole she'd never be able to climb out of. Fine, but tell Mr. Kang he doesn't own me. This is temporary. Of course. Taman's expression didn't change, but she thought she saw approval in his eyes. He wouldn't want to own you, Miss Carter. He respects you too much for that. The diner was chaos. News vans parked outside, reporters trying to get in, Dale looking overwhelmed and stressed. The moment Simone walked through the door, cameras started flashing. Simone, how do you feel about Officer Morrison's suspension? Simone, will you be pressing charges? Simone, what's your relationship with Kang Yoon-suk? No comment, she said firmly, pushing through to get inside. Dale grabbed her the moment she was through the door. Simone, this is getting out of hand. I've got corporate calling, asking if we're going to sue for the negative publicity. I've got protesters outside demanding Morrison be fired. He ran a hand through his thinning hair. Maybe you should take some time off. Paid, of course. Just until this blows over. Translation. You're bad for business. Leave. No. Simone straightened her shoulders. I didn't do anything wrong, Dale. I showed up to work. I served a customer. I got assaulted for doing my job. I'm not hiding because people are paying attention. Simone, if corporate has a problem with me being the victim of police brutality, then maybe I should talk to those reporters outside. I'm sure they'd love to hear about how Mel's Family Diner is more concerned about publicity than employee safety. Dale's face went pale. That's not... I didn't mean... Then I'm working my shift, unless you're firing me? No, of course not. He sighed. You're right, I'm sorry. This is just a lot. For you? Simone touched her still swollen cheek. Yeah, I can imagine how hard this must be. For you. She walked away before he could respond, tying on her apron with shaking hands. Maya was right. No one was going to protect her except herself. And maybe, just maybe, a mafia boss with a conscience. The shift was surreal. Regular customers whispered and stared. New customers came in just to see that waitress from the video. Some were supportive, leaving huge tips and words of encouragement. Others were hostile, making snide comments about playing the victim and making everything about race. Around hour 3, two cops walked in, not Morrison, but officers Simone recognized from his usual crew. They sat in her section, staring at her with flat, hostile eyes. "What can I get you?" Simone asked, notepad ready, trying to keep her voice steady. "Coffee, black, and make sure there's no spit in it." The older one, Officer Chen, according to his name tag, smiled coldly. "We know you people like to do that." "I don't spit in anyone's food, officer. It's unprofessional." Simone kept her expression neutral. "Anything else?" "Yeah, a message. Morrison's on administrative leave because of you. He's got a wife, kids, mortgage. You just cost a good man his livelihood. He cost himself his livelihood when he assaulted me. That's not how we see it, and we take care of our own. So here's the thing. You drop this. Stop talking to reporters. Stop playing the victim. Make a statement saying it was a misunderstanding. Do that, and this all goes away. And if I don't, then life gets real difficult for you, sweetheart. Traffic stops, parking tickets, maybe your brother gets pulled over. What's his name, Marcus? Yeah, we know about Marcus. Wouldn't want anything to happen to him." Fear and rage warred in Simone's chest. "Are you threatening me? We're explaining reality. You can't fight the system. You'll lose, and you'll take down everyone you love with you." Simone's hand moved to the phone in her pocket, the direct line to Yoon. But before she could pull it out, the diner's front door opened, and Yoon walked in like he owned the place. He was dressed casually today, designer jeans, a black t-shirt that showed off a lean, muscular frame, leather jacket, but he radiated the same dangerous authority. His eyes swept the room, landing on the two cops in Simone's section, and his expression went cold. "Gentlemen," he said pleasantly, approaching their table, "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Something about making Simone's life difficult?" Officer Chen stood, hand dropping to his gun instinctively. "This is a private conversation. Move along." "Is it private? Because it sounded like you were threatening a woman in a public place. Again, does the Oakland PD have a policy encouraging that? Or is it just a hobby for you boys? You need to leave. Now. Or what? You'll shoot me? In front of all these witnesses?" Yoon gestured to the dozen phones already recording. "Go ahead. But know that I have lawyers who specialize in police misconduct. Very expensive lawyers, very aggressive lawyers. They'd love another case." The younger cop, barely 25, nervous, tugged on Chen's sleeve. "Come on, man. Let's just go." But Chen wasn't done. "You think you're untouchable because you've got money and connections. But you're just another gangster. And eventually we're going to catch you doing something that sticks." Yoon smiled, and it was terrifying. "Officer Chen, you've taken $17,000 in bribes over the past 4 years. You've falsified 3 police reports. You covered up Morrison's involvement in the death of Marcus Williams, no relation to our Simone, different Marcus, during a traffic stop in 2021. Should I continue?" Chen's face drained of color. "How do you?" "I told you, I have very good investigators. And unlike you, I don't make threats I can't back up." Yoon's voice dropped to something deadly quiet. "Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave this establishment. You're never going to speak to Simone again. And you're going to tell Morrison and every other corrupt cop in your department that Simone Carter is off limits. Because if one parking ticket appears on her car, if her brother gets pulled over, if anything at all, happens to her or her family, I will release every piece of dirt I have on every single one of you. Am I clear?" Silence. Chen's hands were shaking. The younger cop looked ready to bolt. "I said, am I clear?" "Crystal," Chen bit out. Then they left, practically running from the diner. Yoon turned to Simone, and his expression softened immediately. "I apologize for the interruption. Are you all right? You just threatened police officers." "I simply informed them of facts they'd prefer stayed hidden. There's a difference." He pulled out a stool at the counter. "May I have coffee? I've had a long morning. Simone poured him coffee with shaking hands, hyper aware of everyone watching. You can't keep doing this. Showing up, making enemies on my behalf? This isn't your fight, isn't it? I made it mine the moment I stopped Morrison from hitting you a second time. He took a sip, made an appreciative sound. Good coffee, but you're right. We should probably discuss this somewhere more private. Are you free after your shift? Why? Because I'd like to buy you dinner. Properly this time. And explain why I'm invested in your well-being beyond simple altruism. I don't date criminals. Good policy. I'm not asking for a date. I'm asking for a conversation between two people who find themselves unexpectedly connected. His dark eyes held hers. Please, 1 hour of your time. If you hate every minute, I'll remove my security detail and you'll never hear from me again. Simone should have said no, should have maintained boundaries. But curiosity was eating her alive. And honestly, she wanted to understand this man who'd upended her life in the span of 48 hours. 1 hour, but I picked the place. Somewhere public. Yoon's smile was genuine this time, reaching his eyes. Deal. Simone chose a Thai restaurant in Temescal, small but always crowded, the kind of place where you couldn't have a truly private conversation, but also felt safe because there were witnesses everywhere. Yoon arrived exactly on time, this time with only one security guard who waited outside. Thank you for meeting me, he said, sliding into the booth across from her. Up close, in better lighting, Simone could see details she'd missed. A thin scar through his left eyebrow. Laugh lines around his eyes that suggested he smiled more than his reputation implied. And the way he moved with careful control, like someone who'd been trained to never reveal weakness. You said you'd explain. So explain. Why do you care what happens to me? Directly to the point. I appreciate that. Yoon paused as the waiter took their orders. Pad Thai for Simone, drunken noodles for him, then continued. 3 years ago, when I took over the family business from my father, I made a decision. I would use our resources to protect people the system fails. People like you. Why? Because when I was 16, I watched a cop beat my mother during a traffic stop. She was guilty of nothing except having an accent and not understanding his questions fast enough. She died 2 weeks later from internal injuries the hospital missed. And the cop? His jaw clenched. Paid administrative leave. Back on the streets within a month. No charges. No consequences. Simone's throat tightened. I'm sorry. So when I saw Morrison raise his hand to you, I saw my mother. I saw every person who's been brutalized by people who are supposed to protect them. And I thought, not again. Never again if I can stop it. You can't stop every instance of police brutality with intimidation and blackmail. No, but I can stop some. And I can make it expensive enough that cops think twice before they abuse their power in my city. He leaned forward. Simone, I'm not a good man. I run illegal gambling operations. I engage in activities that would horrify you if you knew the details. But I operate by a code. I protect my community. I ensure justice when the law won't. And you're part of my community now. I didn't ask to be. No, but you are nonetheless. The food arrived and they ate in silence for a few moments before Yoon continued. I want to offer you a job. Simone nearly choked on her noodles. What? I own several restaurants in the Bay Area. Legitimate businesses, well-run, excellent reputations. I need someone to help manage training programs for new staff. Someone who understands service from the ground up. Someone who treats people with dignity, regardless of their background. His eyes were intense. You'd be perfect for it. You don't know anything about me except that I got slapped by a cop. I know you've worked at Mel's for 5 years, consistently received excellent customer reviews, helped train 3 managers despite never being promoted yourself. Probably because Dale is intimidated by competent black women. I know you send money to your mother every month to help with medical bills. I know you volunteer at a youth center on Sundays. Should I continue? You investigated me. I investigate everyone I offer jobs to. It's good business practice. He set down his fork. The position pays $70,000 a year, plus benefits and bonuses. You'd work regular hours, have weekends off, and never have to smile through abuse from customers or cops again. It was more money than Simone had ever imagined making. It was respect, stability, a future beyond the diner. It was also clearly a way to keep her close, to maintain control over the narrative, to ensure her loyalty. What's the catch? No catch. You do good work, you keep the job. You decide it's not for you, you leave with a reference. I'm not trying to buy you, Simone. I'm offering you an opportunity. An opportunity that conveniently keeps me in your orbit. Yes, he admitted. It does because honestly, I find you fascinating. You're brave and principled and you don't back down even when you're terrified. Those are rare qualities. I'd like to know you better, and I thought a professional relationship might be a good place to start. And if I say no, then you say no. The security detail stays until I'm confident Morrison won't retaliate. The job offer remains open if you change your mind, and I'll respect your wishes for distance. Simone studied him, trying to see past the handsome face and expensive clothes to the man underneath. She saw intelligence, yes. Danger, absolutely. But also something like loneliness, the isolation of someone who lived in shadows and couldn't trust easily. I need to think about it. Of course, take all the time you need. Yoon signaled for the check, but Simone grabbed it first. I pay my own way. His smile was approving. Another reason I like you. Over the next week, Simone's life became a circus. The video of Morrison on his knees went viral worldwide. Civil rights organizations called, wanting her to speak at rallies. Lawyers offered to represent her pro bono in a lawsuit. The police union released a statement calling the incident an unfortunate misunderstanding blown out of proportion by outside agitators. Morrison himself appeared on a local news program, tearful and apologetic. I made a mistake in a high-stress moment, he said. I've apologized to Miss Carter and I'm getting help for my issues. I just hope the community can forgive me. No mention of the racism, no acknowledgement of the pattern of abuse, just a white man crying and asking for forgiveness he didn't deserve. And the comments section was exactly what Simone expected. He apologized. What more do you want? She's just milking this for attention. That Korean mafia boss is the real criminal here. Simone threw her phone across the room and immediately regretted it when the screen cracked. Her phone, the one Yoon had given her, buzzed. A text. I saw the interview. Don't let it get to you. Liars always reveal themselves eventually. YS. Before she could respond, he called. I'm sorry Morrison is a manipulative coward, Yoon said without preamble. But I wanted you to know. I have a gift for you. Yoon, I can't accept. It's not that kind of gift. It's information. Morrison's lawyer made a mistake during that interview. He referenced dates and times that don't match the official police report. My lawyers noticed. They're already filing motions for discovery. With any luck, we'll prove he's lied under oath. I took the liberty of retaining a legal team on your behalf. Again, no charge. Consider it community service. Before she could protest, he continued. Simone, they're going to try to bury this, make you look like the aggressor. But I won't let that happen. You have my word. Why does your word mean anything? You're a criminal. Because I've never broken a promise. Not once. My word is the only currency I have that can't be bought or stolen. And I promise you, Morrison will face consequences. Real ones. Even if I have to engineer them myself. There was something both comforting and terrifying about that promise. Thank you for all of it, even though I still think you're doing too much. I disagree, but you're welcome nonetheless. A pause. Have you thought about the job offer? I have. And I want to see one of these restaurants first. Meet your staff. Make sure this isn't some elaborate scheme to, I don't know, trap me or compromise me or whatever mafia bosses do. Yoon laughed, the sound rich and genuine. Mafia bosses mostly do boring things like review spreadsheets and mediate disputes over territory. But yes, I'd be happy to give you a tour. Tomorrow, I can pick you up. I'll meet you there. Send me the address. Independent to the end. I like it. The restaurant was in Jack London Square. Waterfront property with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay. Modern Korean fusion, according to the sign. Hana, in elegant script. Yoon was waiting outside, dressed in business casual. Slacks and a button-down that probably cost more than Simone's monthly rent. Welcome to Hana. It means one in Korean, but also flower. My mother's favorite word. Inside, the space was stunning. Clean lines, warm woods, traditional Korean art mixed with contemporary pieces. And the staff, racially diverse, professional, all wearing smiles that looked genuine rather than forced. A young black woman approached, her smile widening when she saw Simone. Oh my God, you're Simone Carter. From the videos. Girl, what you did was so brave. I didn't do anything except get hit, Simone said uncomfortably. You stood up to a corrupt cop. You didn't back down. That's everything. She turned to Yoon. Boss, you didn't tell us Simone Carter was visiting. I wanted it to be a surprise, Jessica. Simone, this is Jessica Chen, our head server. Jessica, Simone is considering joining our management team. Jessica's eyes went wide. Seriously? That would be amazing. We could use someone with real service experience in management. No offense, boss, but some of your corporate people don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to the floor. Yoon's lips twitched. None taken. That's precisely why I'm recruiting Simone. Would you mind showing her around while I handle some calls? For the next hour, Jessica gave Simone a complete tour. The kitchen, professional, immaculately clean. The storage areas, well organized, properly labeled. The staff break room, comfortable, with actual amenities instead of just a folding chair in a closet. It's not perfect, Jessica said honestly. Like anywhere else, we have our issues. But Mr. Kang treats us well. Fair wages, good benefits, respect. I worked at 3 other restaurants before this, and I've never been happier. Does does everyone know about his other businesses? Jessica's expression became guarded. We know he's connected, but honestly, it doesn't affect our day-to-day. He keeps the criminal stuff separate. And having a boss with that kind of power means we're protected. You know how many times I got sexually harassed at my last job? 0 here, because everyone knows Mr. Kang doesn't tolerate that shit. They returned to find Yoon in his office, a space that was somehow both luxurious and functional. He looked up from his laptop, eyes finding Simone immediately. What do you think? I think you run a good restaurant, but I still have questions. Ask them. If I take this job, am I obligated to you? Do I owe you loyalty beyond the normal employee-employer relationship? No. You show up, do good work, treat people with respect. That's all I ask. The same thing I ask of everyone. And if I see something illegal, if your criminal business intersects with the restaurant, it won't. I keep everything compartmentalized. But hypothetically, if you did, you'd be free to walk away or report it. I wouldn't retaliate. You say that now. I mean it always. He stood, moving around the desk to lean against it. Closer to her, but not invasive. Simone, I know trust is earned. I'm not asking you to trust me fully right now. I'm asking you to give this a chance. 3-month trial period. If it doesn't work out, you leave with severance and a reference. No strings, no threats, just a professional parting of ways. It was a good offer, better than good. And sitting in this office, seeing how he'd built something legitimate and functional, Simone found herself wanting to believe him. Okay, 3 months. But Yoon, I need you to be straight with me. Are you doing this because you feel guilty about my situation? Or because you genuinely think I'd be good at the job? Both, he admitted. I do feel responsibility for making you a public figure. But I also think you have skills and perspective that would make you excellent at this. You understand service. You understand how to manage difficult people. And you give a damn about doing things right. That's rare. When do I start? His smile was radiant. Whenever you're ready. Give Dale 2 weeks' notice if you want to be professional. or leave tomorrow if you don't care about burning that bridge. 2 weeks, I'll do it right. She stood extending her hand. Professional relationship, nothing more. Agreed? Yoon took her hand, his grip warm and firm. Agreed. Though I reserve the right to pursue friendship if we find ourselves compatible as colleagues. Friendship with a mafia boss, my mother would be so proud. Introduce me someday, I'll charm her. You're very confident in your charm. It's gotten me this far. 2 weeks later, Simone walked out of Mel's diner for the last time. Dale had been passive-aggressively bitter about her notice, making snide comments about taking blood money from criminals and selling out for a paycheck. She'd smiled through it, counted down the days, and left without looking back. Her first day at Hana was overwhelming in the best way. Yoon introduced her to the full management team, a mix of Korean, Chinese, Black, and Latinx professionals who seemed genuinely excited to have her. Her office was small but hers, with a window view and a door that closed. Training staff starts Monday, Yoon told her during their end-of-day check-in. Until then, shadow our current operations, learn our systems, ask questions. And Simone? He paused at her door. Thank you for taking a chance on this. On me. Don't make me regret it. I'll do my best. The first month was smooth. Simone threw herself into the work, developing training protocols, interviewing new hires, mediating staff conflicts. She was good at it, better than she'd expected. And working with Yoon was surprising. He was demanding but fair, expected excellence, but supported his people when they struggled. He remembered everyone's names, asked about their families, celebrated birthdays and work anniversaries. He was nothing like the cold mafia boss stereotype. But Simone also saw glimpses of the other Yoon, the one who took calls in Korean, voice dropping to something hard and dangerous. The one whose knuckles were sometimes bruised despite his desk job. The one who disappeared for hours with no explanation, returning with shadows in his eyes. They fell into a rhythm, professional but increasingly friendly. Coffee meetings turned into lunch meetings turned into occasional dinners where they talked about everything except his criminal operations. Books, music, their childhoods, dreams they'd abandoned and ones they still held. I wanted to be a doctor, Simone admitted one night over soju and Korean fried chicken at a late-night pojangmatcha. Got a full scholarship to Howard, but my dad got sick sophomore year, and I had to come home to help. By the time he died, I'd lost my scholarship, lost my place, so I just stayed. Do you regret it? Every day, but also no, because I was there for him at the end. Some things matter more than dreams. You could still go back, finish your degree. I'm 26 with student debt and responsibilities. That ship has sailed, or it's just delayed. Yoon's eyes were serious. Simone, money doesn't solve everything, but it solves some things. If you wanted to go back to school, I could help. Not as your boss, as your friend. We're not friends, aren't we? He smiled slightly. We have dinner twice a week. You text me stupid memes at 2 a.m. I know your coffee order and your favorite type of donut. What would you call it? A very complicated professional relationship, if that helps you sleep at night. But he was right, and Simone knew it. They'd become friends despite her best efforts to maintain boundaries. And if she was honest, it was getting harder to ignore the way her heart raced when he smiled, the way she found herself checking her phone for his texts, the way she noticed every detail about him, how he took his coffee, the scar he got falling off a bike at 8, the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed. She was falling for him, and it was the worst possible idea. 3 months into her new job, Morrison made his move. Simone was closing up Hana late one night. Yoon was handling business elsewhere, most of the staff had left, and she was just finishing paperwork in her office. She heard the front door open and called out, "We're closed!" Heavy footsteps. Multiple people. Simone's blood ran cold. Morrison appeared in her doorway, still in uniform, flanked by officers Chen and 2 others she didn't recognize. All armed, all looking at her with expressions that promised violence. "Hello, Simone," Morrison said pleasantly. "We need to have a conversation about your Korean boyfriend and his very illegal businesses. I don't know what you're talking about, and you're trespassing. Leave, or I'm calling the police." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. "We are the police, sweetheart, and we have a warrant to search this establishment for evidence of money laundering, illegal gambling, and racketeering." He pulled out a folded paper. "Signed by Judge Martinez just this afternoon." Simone's hands shook as she took the warrant. It looked official. Proper seals, signatures, the works. "Fine, search, but I'm documenting everything." She pulled out her phone. Morrison's hand shot out, knocking the phone from her grip. It shattered against the wall. "Whoops, Butterfingers. You know, accidents happen a lot during searches. Property gets damaged. Evidence gets found in unexpected places. Sometimes people even get hurt resisting. I'm not resisting anything. Not yet, but you will." He stepped closer, and Simone backed up until she hit her desk. "See, this is what happens when you embarrass cops, when you cost good men their careers, when you fuck gangsters and think you're untouchable. You learn that there are consequences." The other officers spread out, and Simone heard them start tearing apart the restaurant, breaking dishes, upending tables, destroying everything she'd worked to build. "Stop! You don't have to destroy." Morrison's hand closed around her throat. Not choking, not yet, but the threat was clear. "You're going to tell me everything you know about Kang Yoon-suk's operations. Bank accounts, properties, contacts, everything. Or I plant enough drugs in this place to put you away for 20 years. I don't know anything. I run training programs. I don't have access to—" He squeezed, cutting off her air. Simone clawed at his hand, panic flooding through her. This was it. He was going to kill her, claim she attacked him, and no one would question it. Then Morrison's grip released as he was yanked backward with brutal force. Simone gasped for air, vision clearing to see Yoon standing there, holding Morrison by the collar, fury radiating from every line of his body. "You made a mistake," Yoon said quietly. "A fatal one." Morrison tried to draw his gun, but Yoon moved with Cobra Strike speed, disarming him and flipping him onto his back. The other officers rushed in, guns drawn, but they froze as Yoon's security team appeared. At least 10 men, all armed, all trained, surrounding the cops. "Here's what's going to happen," Yoon said, his voice cold enough to freeze blood. "You're going to drop your weapons. You're going to get on your knees, and you're going to apologize to Simone. Again. Fuck you. We're police officers. You're criminals in uniforms, and I have evidence to prove it." Yoon pulled out his phone, projecting a video onto the wall. Morrison accepting a bribe. Chen planting evidence during a traffic stop. All of them, in glorious HD, committing felonies. "Where did you get that?" Chen's voice shook. "I've been investigating you for months, ever since you first assaulted Simone. I knew you'd try something like this eventually, so I prepared." Yoon's smile was vicious. "Did you really think that warrant was real? Judge Martinez has been dead for 6 months, and that's just one of the many ways you fucked up tonight." Morrison's face went ashen. "You set us up. I gave you enough rope to hang yourselves. You did the rest." Yoon gestured and his men moved forward, professionally disarming the cops. "Now, on your knees. Apologize, and pray I don't release this footage to every news outlet in the country." One by one, the officers dropped to their knees. Morrison was last, hatred burning in his eyes, but he did it. And he looked at Simone, who was rubbing her bruised throat, and spoke through gritted teeth. "I apologize for assaulting you. Again." "Not good enough," Yoon said. "Tell her what you plan to do tonight." We were going to plant drugs, frame you, destroy your life." Morrison's voice broke with humiliation. "I'm sorry. And I'm a racist piece of shit who abuses his power because I'm a coward who can't stand seeing black people succeed." The admission hung in the air, recorded by a dozen phones. Yoon's people had documented everything. Good. Now get out of my restaurant. If any of you ever come near Simone again, I won't be this merciful. I'll destroy you. Your careers, your families, your lives, everything. Understood? They scrambled to their feet and ran, leaving behind their weapons and their dignity. The moment they were gone, Simone's legs gave out. Yoon caught her, lowering them both to the floor, cradling her against his chest. I've got you. You're safe. I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner. How did you know? I had people watching Morrison. When he filed for the warrant, a fake warrant, using a dead judge's name, I knew he was making his move. I got here as fast as I could. His hand came up to gently examine her throat, and his eyes darkened. He hurt you. I'm okay. You're not, but you will be. He pulled her closer. Simone, I need to tell you something. I'm done playing defense. Morrison and his friends just committed multiple felonies on camera. I'm going to destroy them, legally this time. I have lawyers ready to file charges. I have the videos. By tomorrow morning, they'll all be arrested. They'll claim you framed them. Let them. I have evidence they can't refute. And more importantly, I have witnesses. You, my security team, all those cameras. He pulled back to meet her eyes. But I need your permission. Once I do this, there's no going back. You'll be in the spotlight again, testifying probably. Media circus, are you willing? Simone thought about Morrison's hand around her throat, about every black person who'd been brutalized by cops and gotten no justice, about the power she'd just watched Yoon wield, and how he was offering to use it for her. Yes, burn them down. Yoon's smile was fierce and proud. That's my girl. The words sent heat through Simone's chest. I'm not your girl. Aren't you? His hand came up to cup her cheek gently, thumb brushing across her lips. Simone, I've been trying to be professional, respectful, to give you space. But watching him hurt you, thinking I might lose you, I can't pretend anymore. I'm in love with you, have been for weeks, maybe since that first day in the diner. Her breath caught. Yoon, you don't have to say anything. I know I'm not what you planned. I'm a criminal. I have enemies. I live in a world that could get you killed. But I love you. And if you give me a chance, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I can be worthy of you. Simone should have said no, should have protected her heart. But she was tired of being careful, tired of denying what she felt. So instead, she pulled him down and kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, then deepened into something desperate and consuming. Yoon's arms wrapped around her, pulling her closer, and Simone let herself fall completely, trusting him to catch her. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Yoon rested his forehead against hers. Is that a yes? That's a, we'll figure it out as we go. But yes, Yoon, yes, I'll take a chance on us. Thank God, I was prepared to grovel much longer. Save the groveling. We have corrupt cops to destroy. The arrest happened at dawn. FBI agents, federal, not local, raiding Morrison's house, Chen's house, the homes of everyone involved. The videos Yoon had collected were handed over to federal prosecutors, along with documentation of years of corruption. By noon, all 4 officers were in custody, charged with assault, attempted kidnapping, falsifying evidence, bribery, and a host of other felonies. The Oakland PD scrambled to distance themselves, suddenly very concerned about rooting out bad apples. Simone's story, the full story, from the first slap to the attempted frame-up, spread across every news outlet. But this time, she wasn't alone. Yoon stood beside her at the press conference, his presence both protective and empowering. Miss Carter has shown extraordinary courage, he told the assembled reporters. She refused to be silenced, refused to let corrupt officers intimidate her, and she trusted me to help her seek justice. I'm honored to have played a role in holding these men accountable. Mr. Kang, there are allegations that you used illegal methods to obtain the evidence against these officers. All evidence was obtained legally and has been verified by federal investigators. These men destroyed their own careers by committing crimes. I simply documented it. And your relationship with Miss Carter? Is it true you're romantically involved? Yoon looked at Simone, a question in his eyes. She nodded slightly and he smiled. Yes, Simone and I are together. She's an extraordinary woman, and I'm incredibly fortunate that she tolerates my presence. Tolerates is generous, Simone added, getting laughs from the press corps. But seriously, I want to thank Mr. Kang for using his resources to protect me and seek justice. Without him, Morrison and his friends would still be terrorizing our community. The questions continued, but Simone felt lighter than she had in months. The truth was out. The bad guys were in custody, and she had someone who saw her, valued her, loved her. The trial took 8 months. Morrison and his co-defendants tried every legal maneuver, claiming entrapment, questioning the evidence, attacking Yoon's character. But the videos were damning. The testimony was consistent, and the jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before returning guilty verdicts on all counts. Morrison got 12 years. Chen got 8. The others got between 4 and 6. Not enough, Simone thought, but more than most cops ever faced for their crimes. After the sentencing, she and Yoon stood outside the courthouse, reporters shouting questions. How do you feel about the verdict, Miss Carter? I feel like justice was served. Partially. These men going to prison doesn't erase the trauma they caused or bring back the people they killed. But it's a step, and it sends a message that no one is above the law, not even cops. And your relationship with Mr. Kang? Any updates? Simone looked at Yoon, who was smiling that private smile she'd come to love. Yeah, we're engaged. The gasps and camera flashes were immediate. Yoon pulled her close, kissing her temple. She said yes 3 days ago. Best decision I've ever made was asking, Mr. Kang, how do you respond to criticism that you're a criminal who can't lecture anyone about justice? I respond by saying that I've never pretended to be perfect. I've made mistakes. I operate in gray areas, but I've also used my resources to protect people the system fails. And I'll continue doing that, regardless of what critics think. His arm tightened around Simone. This woman made me want to be better, to use my power for good, not just profit. So yes, I'm a criminal, but I'm also a man who believes in justice. Even imperfect justice is better than none. They left the reporters behind, climbing into Yoon's car, a new one, less ostentatious because Simone had told him the Bentley was embarrassingly extra. How are you really feeling? Yoon asked as they drove toward the waterfront. Relieved, exhausted, a little sad that it took this long. Simone leaned against him. But mostly grateful. For you. For not letting them break me. You were never going to break. You're too strong. I felt pretty broken when Morrison had his hand around my throat. Yoon's jaw clenched. I should have killed him for that. No, you did better. You got him locked up legally. That's more satisfying than murder. If you say so. But he was smiling. Where do you want to go? Celebrate? Home. Our home. I just want to be with you. They'd moved in together 3 months ago. A house in the hills, beautiful but not ostentatious, with a garden Simone was slowly learning to tend. It was theirs, a space separate from the restaurants and the business and the criminal empire. That night, lying in bed with Yoon's arms around her, Simone thought about the journey that had brought her here. A racist cop's slap, a stranger's intervention, a job offer that became a friendship that became love. What are you thinking about? Yoon asked sleepily. How my life completely changed in 9 months. How I went from serving coffee to running training programs to getting engaged to a mafia boss. Technically, I prefer reformed mafia boss. I'm going legitimate, remember? It was true Yoon had been systematically transitioning his operations, shutting down illegal gambling, selling off questionable businesses, investing in community projects. It was slow, careful work, but he was committed. Why? Simone asked. Why give it all up? Because I want a different life. With you. I want to marry you without worrying about my enemies targeting you. I want to have kids someday and not have to explain why daddy's business colleagues carry guns. I want to be someone you can be proud of. I'm already proud of you. You brought down corrupt cops, You protect your community. You're good to your people. I also run protection rackets and launder money through shell corporations. Nobody's perfect. She turned to face him. But seriously, Yoon, I love you for who you are, not who you might become. The criminal stuff, I'm not thrilled about it, but I understand why you do it, and I see you trying to change. That matters. I don't deserve you. Probably not, but you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. Forever. Forever. The wedding was a year later, held at a botanical garden with 300 guests, a mix of Yoon's Korean community, Simone's family and friends, restaurant staff, and surprisingly, several reform cops who'd worked with Yoon to clean up the Oakland PD. Simone wore a custom gown that incorporated traditional Korean elements with African prints, a visual representation of their merged worlds. Yoon wore a hanbok for the ceremony, then changed into a tuxedo for the reception. You clean up nice, Simone told him during their first dance. You clean up breathtaking, though you always do. They swayed to music, surrounded by people who'd become family. Jessica from the restaurant was there, now a manager herself. Tai Min, Yoon's head of security, watching the perimeter but smiling. Simone's mother, who'd been skeptical of Yoon until he'd sat down with her for 3 hours and explained his intentions in exhaustive detail. I have something for you, Yoon said as the song ended. He pulled out an envelope. Wedding gift. Inside was a letter of acceptance from UCSF's medical school and a check for full tuition. Simone's hands shook. Yoon, I didn't even apply. I may have taken the liberty of submitting your application and writing a very compelling essay about your journey and securing some strong recommendation letters. He looked nervous. If you don't want to go, that's fine. But Simone, you deserve to chase your dream. And I want to help make it happen. Tears streamed down her face. You manipulative, wonderful, impossible man. Yes, God, yes, I want to go. Good, because I already told them you'd be starting in the fall. She laughed through her tears, kissing him in front of everyone. The crowd erupted in cheers. 5 years later, Dr. Simone Carter Kang finished her residency at Oakland Children's Hospital. She specialized in treating underserved communities, taking patients regardless of insurance status, fighting to provide care to people the system ignored. Yoon had kept his promise, fully legitimate now, running restaurants and real estate companies, using his wealth to fund community programs and medical clinics. The criminal empire was gone, replaced by something better. They had 2 children, a daughter named Grace and a son named James. Both were being raised bilingual in English and Korean, learning about both their heritages, understanding that their parents had built something beautiful from broken pieces. One evening, Simone came home to find Yoon teaching Grace how to make kimchi while James played with blocks on the kitchen floor. The scene was so domestic, so perfect, so different from where they'd started. Mama! Grace ran over, hands covered in spicy paste. Look what we made! It's beautiful, baby. Simone kissed her head, then moved to Yoon, wrapping her arms around him from behind. Hey yourself, doctor. He turned, kissing her properly. How was your day? Good, exhausting, but good. Saved a kid's life, so that's a win. You save lives every day. It's your superpower. Says the man who saved mine. I didn't save you. I just gave you a safe space to save yourself. Simone thought about that first day in the diner, Morrison's hand connecting with her face, the humiliation, the fear, and then Yoon, appearing like an avenging angel, bringing a cop to his knees. Do you ever regret it? She asked. Stepping in that day? You could have stayed out of it, kept your life simple. Never, not for a second. He pulled her closer, resting his forehead against hers. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Simone. You made me better. Made me want more than just power and money. You gave me purpose. You gave me justice when the law wouldn't. You made Morrison beg at my feet. You showed me that sometimes the people who break the rules are the ones who care most about what's right. Poetic, but accurate. Grace tugged on Simone's scrubs. Mama, why did someone need to beg at your feet? Simone and Yoon exchanged glances. They'd have to tell the kids the full story someday about racism and corruption and the man who'd slapped their mother for no reason except hate. About how their father had used his power for good, even when that power came from complicated places. That's a story for when you're older, baby, Simone said. But the short version is that someone was mean to me, and your daddy made sure they couldn't be mean to anyone else ever again. Daddy's a hero, Grace declared. Mama's the hero, Yoon corrected. I just helped. That night after the kids were asleep, Simone and Yoon sat on their back porch, watching the lights of Oakland spread below them. Do you think Morrison thinks about us? Simone asked. In prison, I mean. Probably, with a lot of anger. Yoon took her hand. But he lost, Simone. He tried to break you, tried to use his power to crush someone he saw as beneath him. And instead, he lost everything. His job, his freedom, his reputation. That's justice. Imperfect justice, but justice nonetheless. Simone leaned against him, feeling safe and loved and powerful in ways she never had before, because she'd learned something crucial. Justice wasn't always what the law provided. Sometimes it was what you demanded, what you fought for, what you built with your own hands. And sometimes, if you were very lucky, justice came in the form of a beautiful stranger who saw your worth when everyone else looked away, who loved you fiercely, who made corrupt cops kneel at your feet and beg for forgiveness. I love you, she told Yoon. I love you more. But we can argue about it later. Deal. They sat together in comfortable silence. Two people from different worlds who'd built a bridge between them. The waitress and the mafia boss, writing their own ending, one that defied every expectation and proved that sometimes the most unlikely love stories are the ones that matter most. Because Simone Carter had learned something that day in the diner, when a racist cop's hand had connected with her face and a stranger had stepped in to defend her. Power wasn't always corrupting. Sometimes in the right hands, it was transformative. It could bring bullies to their knees. It could provide justice when the system failed. It could protect the vulnerable and punish the wicked. And sometimes it could give a black waitress the courage to become a doctor, to build a life beyond survival, to love a man who'd burned the world down to keep her safe. Morrison was still in prison, his appeals exhausted, his name synonymous with corruption. Chen and the others had shorter sentences but faced the same disgrace. And Simone? She was Dr. Carter Kang now, saving lives, raising children, building something beautiful with the man who'd seen her worth when the world tried to diminish it. That was real justice. Not perfect, not clean, but real. And it had started with a slap, a stranger's intervention, and a simple promise. No one should be treated that way. Yoon had kept that promise, and in keeping it, he'd given Simone something more valuable than revenge, the chance to become everything she was meant to be. What are you thinking about? Yoon asked, pulling her from her reverie. How far we've come. How different my life could have been if you hadn't walked into that diner. I'd have found you eventually. Fate has a way of bringing people together. You don't believe in fate. I believe in us. Same thing. Simone smiled, turning to kiss him under the stars. And somewhere in Oakland, in a cell block reserved for disgraced cops, Morrison lay awake, probably still bitter, still hateful, still unable to accept that he'd destroyed his own life by underestimating a black waitress and the man who loved her. Justice had been served, not through the courts alone, but through courage and love and a willingness to fight back against a system designed to protect the powerful and punish the vulnerable. And every day Simone woke up grateful for Yoon, for her children, for the life they'd built from the ashes of that terrible day. Because sometimes the worst thing that ever happens to you becomes the catalyst for the best. Sometimes being slapped by a racist cop leads you to a man who'll make that cop beg at your feet. Sometimes humiliation transforms into power, and sometimes, just sometimes, justice wins. 10 years after the slap heard round the world, Simone stood in front of a crowd at the Oakland Community Justice Center, a facility she and Yoon had funded, designed to provide free legal services, medical care, and job training to underserved communities. This center exists because I learned something crucial, she told the assembled crowd. Politicians, community leaders, formerly incarcerated people rebuilding their lives. I learned that justice isn't passive. It's something you fight for, something you demand, something you build. Yoon stood in the back, watching his wife command the room with the same fierce grace she'd shown that first day. Grace and James sat beside him, old enough now to understand their parents' story, proud of what their family had built. Morrison thought he could slap me and face no consequences. He was wrong. Not because the system worked, it didn't, but because people who cared about justice more than procedure stepped in. Because my now husband saw wrong and corrected it, using the power he had in ways most people never would. This center is our way of extending that protection to everyone. You shouldn't need to know a mafia boss to get justice. You shouldn't have to go viral to be treated with dignity. Justice should be available to everyone, regardless of race, wealth, or connection. The crowd erupted in applause. Simone caught Yoon's eye across the room and smiled. They'd come so far from that diner, that alley, that moment of violence that had somehow become the foundation of everything good in their lives. After the ceremony, a young black woman approached Simone nervously. "Dr. Kang, I just wanted to thank you. I saw your videos back when I was in high school. I was being bullied by the security guard at school and nobody believed me. But watching you stand up to Morrison, it gave me courage to keep fighting. I reported him, got a lawyer, and he was fired." Simone pulled the young woman into a hug. "What's your name?" "Keisha. Keisha Martinez." "Well, Keisha, I'm proud of you. Never let anyone make you feel small. Never accept abuse as normal. You deserve respect. We all do. I know that now. Because of you." Moments like that made everything worthwhile. The trauma, the media circus, the threats and the fear, and the long legal battles. Because Simone's story had inspired others to fight back, to demand justice, to refuse to accept brutality as inevitable. That evening, back at home, Simone found Yoon in his study, reviewing architectural plans for their next community center. This one in Richmond, another underserved area. "You know what I realized today?" she said, settling into his lap. "What's that?" "Morrison did me a favor. If he hadn't slapped me, I'd probably still be serving coffee at Mel's. I wouldn't be a doctor. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have this life. I'd have found you anyway." "How? Through your creepy surveillance network? Through fate or determination? Whichever you believe in more." Simone kissed him, long and deep. "I believe in us, in the family we built, in the justice we fight for every day. That's my faith." "Mine too." Outside Oakland spread before them, a city still struggling with poverty and violence and systemic racism, but also a city fighting back. A city where former criminals became community leaders, where victims became advocates, where a slap in a diner became a catalyst for change. And in a federal prison 3 hours away, Morrison lay in his cell, probably still bitter, still refusing to acknowledge his guilt. But it didn't matter anymore. He'd lost, completely and permanently, while Simone had won. Not just justice for herself, but a life beyond her wildest dreams. Love, family, purpose, the ability to help others the way Yoon had helped her. "You know what the best revenge is?" she asked Yoon. "What?" "Living well, being happy, making a difference. Morrison wanted to break me, and instead I became someone who breaks systems of oppression. That's the ultimate victory." "Agreed. Though making him beg at your feet was pretty satisfying too." "Not gonna lie, that was a highlight." They laughed together, two people who'd found each other in the worst circumstances and built something beautiful anyway. Because that's what justice looks like sometimes. Not perfect, not clean, but transformative. And as the city lights flickered below them, Simone thought about all the people fighting their own battles against Morrison-like figures, against systems designed to keep them powerless, against hatred masquerading as authority. She thought about the young woman, Keisha, who'd found courage in her story, and she hoped that somewhere out there, someone else was watching their story and thinking, if Simone can fight back, so can I. Because that's what real justice does. It ripples outward, inspires others, creates change that outlasts any individual victory. I love you, she told Yoon. I love you more. Impossible. Prove it. So she did, with a kiss that tasted like promises and hope and hard-won victories, with a life built on courage and love and refusing to accept injustice as inevitable. And in that moment, with Yoon's arms around her and their children safe down the hall, and the future stretching bright before them, Simone knew the truth. Morrison hadn't destroyed her. He'd forged her into something stronger: a doctor, a wife, a mother, an advocate, a woman who'd been slapped by a racist cop and made him beg at her feet, a woman who'd turned trauma into triumph. That was justice, imperfect, hard-won, and absolutely worth fighting for. And it all started with a stranger in a suit stepping forward when everyone else looked away, asking a simple question: "Are you all right?" That question had changed everything, had saved her life in more ways than one, had led her here, to this beautiful, complicated, perfectly imperfect life. So yes, she was all right. More than all right. She was free. And Morrison? He was exactly where he belonged, on his knees, metaphorically speaking, forever defeated by the black waitress he'd tried to diminish and the Korean mafia boss who'd made him pay for it. Justice, sweet, complicated, hard-won justice, and love, always love. The end, but also the beginning. Because stories like Simone's never really end. They inspire new chapters, new fights, new victories. And somewhere out there right now, someone is being slapped by a Morrison of their own. Someone is facing injustice they didn't deserve. Someone is wondering if fighting back is worth the cost. To them, Simone's message is simple: fight, demand justice, find allies in unexpected places, and never ever accept abuse as normal. You deserve better. We all do. And sometimes, if you're brave enough to fight, you'll win. Not always through the system. Sometimes through the people who care enough to break the rules for what's right. Sometimes through a mafia boss with a conscience and the resources to make bullies kneel. But always, always through courage. The courage to stand up, to speak out, to refuse to be diminished. That's the real story. Not the slap, not even the revenge. The courage, and the love that makes courage possible. Simone and Yoon's love story wasn't conventional. It started with violence and evolved through danger. But it was real, transformative, beautiful, and most importantly, it was theirs. Built on truth and respect and the unwavering belief that everyone deserves dignity. That's justice. That's love. That's everything. 20 years later, Grace Kang stood at a podium, accepting her appointment as California's first Korean-American Black Attorney General. In the front row sat her parents, Simone, still practicing medicine part-time, and Yoon, fully retired from everything except philanthropy and embarrassing his children with excessive pride. "My mother was assaulted by a cop when she was 26, Grace said in her speech. And my father, who, yes, had a complicated past, made that cop face consequences when the system wouldn't. That moment shaped my entire understanding of justice. Sometimes it comes through official channels. Sometimes it comes through people brave enough to demand it by any means necessary. I'm standing here today because my parents taught me that power should protect, not oppress. That wealth should uplift, not exploit. That justice delayed is justice denied. And that sometimes breaking the rules is the most moral choice available." Simone squeezed Yoon's hand, their daughter, the Attorney General. Their son James was a civil rights lawyer, both of them fighting the fight in ways Simone and Yoon had paved the road for. "Where's Morrison now?" Yoon whispered. "Dead. Heart attack in prison 3 years ago," Simone whispered back. "Died alone. No visitors. No mourners." "Good. You're still bitter. Always. He hurt you. I'll be bitter about that until the day I die. Then it's good I love you anyway. They watched their daughter shine, watched her promise to fight for justice for everyone, watched her become the living embodiment of everything they'd fought for. And in that moment, surrounded by their children's triumphs and the knowledge that they'd helped change the world, Simone thought about that scared waitress who'd been slapped in a diner. She'd come so far. They all had. From violence to victory, from humiliation to honor, from a slap to a legacy. That was justice. That was love. That was everything they'd fought for and everything they'd won. And somewhere, in whatever afterlife exists, maybe Morrison was watching. Maybe he finally understood what he'd unleashed when he raised his hand to a black waitress who refused to stay down. Maybe he understood that some people are stronger than the systems designed to break them. Maybe he understood that love conquers hate. Maybe, but probably not. Either way, it didn't matter. He'd lost, they'd won, and that was the only ending that mattered. For everyone who's been slapped, literally or metaphorically, and fought back anyway. For everyone who found love in unexpected places. For everyone who demanded justice when the system failed. This story is for you. Stay strong, stay brave, stay fighting. Justice will come. Maybe not through official channels, maybe not cleanly, but it will come. We promise. Simone and Yoon at 70 sitting on the same porch where they'd sat decades before. Older, grayer, but still holding hands. Still fighting. Still loving. Any regrets? Simone asked. Only that I didn't make Morrison beg longer. Simone laughed. You're terrible. You loved me anyway. Unfortunately, yes. Fortunately. The word you're looking for is fortunately. Fine. Fortunately, yes. I love you. Have loved you. Will love you. Forever. Forever. And as the sun set over Oakland one more time, two people who changed the world simply by refusing to accept injustice sat together. Proof that sometimes the most unlikely love stories are the ones that matter most.